Okay, so I'm here with my Grammy. Her name is Rose Lenny, and she is 72. She was a real estate agent, and she grew up in Camden. Okay, so the first question we're going to ask is what age were you when you got pregnant?
20.
Was it like planned or not planned?
Not planned.
Okay, so it was okay. So how did you choose your first child's name, Dad, and Ron? How did you choose that?
Art was named after his father, Art. And Ronald, my second son, was named after his grandmother's son who had passed away.
Okay, so there's some relation there. So you worked while you were pregnant. For how long, did you work while you were pregnant?
8 months.
8 months. And, did they give you, how long did you leave for? Did you come back after? How did that work?
Well, I collected disability after your dad was born, and then I went back to work for a little while and then left and stayed home for a while as a stay-at-home mom.
And then you went back. Did you go back to work after that? How long after?
Well, I didn't get back to work until Uncle Ron was 4.
Okay. And what age did you get married?
I got married at 18.
So, how long were you guys together? Before that, were you together at all?
About 5 years we had a relationship.
Okay, and so what was a date? How did you guys date back then? Or even talk to each other?
When we first started dating, I was 15, so we would go to the soda shop, bowling, dancing.
So you guys only saw each other when were you guys in the same school?
Yes. Well, I was when I met him, I was a sophomore and he was a senior.
Oh, okay. And then you guys did he come over your house or
He did.
Because you guys didn't have any technology, and did you guys ever
Well, we did have a phone.
So you guys did call each other?
Yes.
Okay.
We saw one another in school, and then when he graduated, and then a year later he went into service. He joined the Navy.
Oh. So did you guys write each other?
We did. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did you call at all?
Yeah, he would call me occasionally, but he wrote to me every day, and I responded back to him.
Oh, okay. So when you had Dad, the first child, how did you stayed home first, so you took care of him?
Yes. I was a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm.
And then, so you went back to work a little bit?
I went back to work after he was 6 weeks old, and it just wasn't working out, me going back and forth to work, as far as having someone to look after him. So
you didn't put him in any type of was there any
No,
type
he
of
didn't get in daycare. Actually, my grandmother was watching him, but it became too much for her, so I decided to stay at home.
So and then Ron, you just decided to become a stay-at-home mom?
Yeah, after I had Ron, Ron was 4 years old, and then I decided to go back to work, and he went into a daycare when he was 4.
Okay. And so when you stopped going to work to take care of the kids, how did you guys bring in the money? How did you guys get that money?
Well, his father was working. So
where was he working at? What was he doing?
was working. He was a printer. So he worked for Brooklyn Press in Philadelphia.
And that's how I brought in the money?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So... Okay, and what was the social expectations of parents? How is it supposed? What was how is the typical family supposed to be? How are the parents supposed to be? Do you know what I'm asking? Stay-at-home mom, the moms weren't supposed to go to work.
Sure. Well, they were allowed to go to work. It all depended whether you wanted to go to work or not. I just wanted to stay home with the children at that time, so.
Okay. And how were you raised compared to how your parents were raised, or?
Well, my
Other
mother
parents.
was a stay-at-home mom.
So she was the same as how
Yeah,
you were.
yeah.
What about your father?
My father worked, yeah.
He worked too?
Yeah.
Okay, what was he working at?
My father worked for the railroad.
And so was there any like TV or any other, like what kind of technology was coming out at the time? Was the TV
Well, we had
coming
the
out yet?
TV. Yeah, the computers, when I graduated from high school, the computers were just starting to come out. But of course we had TV, you know.
So on the computers, like could you, like what was,
It was the big
what could you
computer
do
at
on
that
there?
time. It wasn't
You
anything.
couldn't do much on there?
No, it wasn't. It was their big computers. They were for companies. So
Okay,
it
so
wasn't
that's the
anything
only
personal.
way you had a computer.
Right.
Okay, and then the TVs came out. How many were there any stations?
Well,
Like how many?
There was only like 3, 6, and 10 when it first came out.
3, 6, and
So
10.
that was in the 50s, 1950 area.
All black and white. Like what kind of TV shows were
Black
on
and
there?
white.
What did like everyone watch on there?
Well, Bandstand was one of them because I used to go there myself. But I mean, you know, you had Sally Star, shows like that, you know, 6 News, you know, there was,
Three Stooges?
Yeah.
Three Stooges.
Yeah.
All black and white. When did they
Black and
start
white.
coming out with color? Do you know?
You know, I'm really not sure. I'm not
Like, do you
sure
know a
when the
decade
color
or-
was. Yeah.
What year? I'm not sure.
No, I'm not either. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And I think this concludes all the questions.
Okay.
Okay, and we are good. Okay. I'm here with my mother, Susan Longo. She is age 54, and she is a surgical technician at Jefferson, and she grew up in Collingswood. So, can you tell me a little bit about your family immigration and where your grandparents are from, what language they spoke?
Sure. My grandparents, both of my grandfathers were from Italy. My grandmothers were both from Philadelphia. They spoke Italian in the house. My grandparents with their parents all spoke Italian, but they were English speaking once they had their own families. They didn't speak Italian to each other. They spoke American and or English, I should say. My mom was from South Philadelphia. My father was from West Philadelphia. Two very different neighborhoods. People from South Philadelphia were a little bit more privileged than West Philadelphia people. My father was they came from a hard-working class. My mother, she kind of was more brought up to be taken care of, so to speak. And she met him and was very attracted to him because he had blonde hair and green eyes. And when you lived in South Philly, you didn't see many men with blonde hair and green eyes, so that really made her like him a lot.
So how many kids? So your father had how many brothers and sisters?
My father had 9 brothers and 2 sisters.
And there was not really any forms of contraception.
No, my
Okay.
grandmother obviously I don't think had used contraceptions. She was pregnant actually 15 times, and she had
A couple miscarriages.
5 miscarriages.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And so
She got married at 16.
16. Oh wow. And so when did your mom and dad get married? Do you know what age?
My mom and dad got married according to that time back in like the 50s. They were around 21, 22, which is
That a little bit late?
That was a little late for that period, yes.
Okay. And so you had 3 sisters.
Uh-huh.
And just all 3 sisters.
4
so
including me. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so 3 other sisters. So what was like the typical family dinner? Like, did you guys have dinner every night?
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, did your mom
Yeah.
made the dinner every night? And so on Sundays, you guys went over your
We
grandparents' house?
yes, every Sunday was always dedicated to going to visit one of the grandparents. Either it was my mom's uh, parents or my dad's parents. That's what most American families did. I think most American families, they would go visit their parents on the weekends.
So
like a
who-
Sunday, typical Sunday.
So who all went over there?
The whole family.
Like cousins, aunts, uncles?
Yeah, if you would go over to my grandmother's house, anybody that was in the area that lived around South Jersey would usually go to my grandmother. So it was quite a lot of people every Sunday at my grandmother's house.
And so, like, what did she usually make? Like,
She
what kind
would
of
make
food?
spaghetti and meatballs and a salad and bread, and that was pretty much it. And sausage and broccoli rabe and all that. I mean brajol,
Oh.
which is a type of meat. Everybody loved all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
And it was the best around, so everybody enjoyed it.
Okay. Let's move on. So, when did you get pregnant? What age?
I was 34 when I was pregnant with Luke.
And so, that was planned?
Yeah,
And what about me and
I was
Kayla.
36.
you were 36 and that was planned? Well, you didn't mean to have twins.
No.
Okay. So you were working while pregnant. How long were you working while you were pregnant with Luke?
I worked for 8 months when I was pregnant with Luke.
Oh, wow.
And
Is that normal? Like, does that allow?
Well, I wanted to go work 3 weeks more, but I was having some kind of issues, and so I had to leave. Plus, my job, I was on my feet all the time. I'm a surgical technician, so I'm standing on my feet a lot. That typically isn't good for a pregnant person when they're getting later into their pregnancy.
Yeah.
So that's why I had to leave. And number two, with you guys, I was only able to work up until maybe 5 months because I was so big.
Yeah, she was. I have a twin, so that's why she's a little bit. It was a little bit harder like that.
Right.
Okay. And so, what age did you get married?
I was 32 when I got married.
Was that a normal age to get married, or was
It was a little bit older. I mean, it was a little later than typical. We've been married for 22 years, and back in those days, people most likely were married by, I'd say, 27, 28.
Like
Yeah.
mostly everyone?
Most people, yeah.
Okay. So were you guys married? Were you guys living together before you were
Yes.
married? How long before?
4 years.
4 years before you were married. If so, how did like your parents?
No,
feel
I'm
about
sorry,
that?
not 3 years we lived with
3
each
years.
other. Uh-huh.
And so, like, how did your parents feel about that? Was there any problems, issues? Was that like frowned upon?
Not very much. People started to realize, I think back in them days, that it wasn't a bad idea to live with somebody first to see if you got along, because I had lived with another boyfriend before my husband, and I knew that first year I wasn't going to marry him. He was horrible. So in that respect, I think it was a good idea to live with somebody first. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, what was the typical date? Like, what did you guys do, or how did you guys start like when you were younger? How did you guys start to date? Was it asked like, were you asked like, do you guys want to go out? Like, so.
Yeah, we didn't say, "Will you go out with me?" kind of a thing. You just asked somebody out on a date, and you went.
It was just kind of like you felt like you guys were together.
Yeah, and if you've seen each other quite a bit and you talk to each other on the phone, basically you're going out with them. They were your boyfriend.
Okay. And so what are some of the social expectations of being a parent now?
Well, I think a lot of parents...
Is there like a lot of pressure on like you have to like feed your kids certain foods, or like...
Well, I think a lot of parents would like the old way of parenting, to be able to stay home with their children, but unfortunately the world is so expensive to live in it, now that most parents, I think, have to work 2 jobs. So unless, your husband or your wife is making an extremely good amount of money, most people have a 2 income family. But I was fortunate enough to be able to stay home for 13 years with you guys.
And then you decided to go back to work.
And then I decided to go back to work. But I didn't live frivolously either. We had a very scaled down life. I didn't go out and buy new clothes all the time. I didn't have any new cars. We didn't take big trips. We only went down the shore, and stayed at people's houses that we knew. So we didn't live an elegant lifestyle, to say the least.
Okay. All right. I think that covers this. Okay. Okay. I am interviewing my brother Luke Longo. He's age 20. He's currently interning at Lockheed Martin, and he's in Rowan University for electrical engineering and computer engineering. Okay. So, can you describe to me the typical family dinner and how it evolved from when we were little to now?
Yeah, so, when we were younger, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad worked a lot. So, we used to have dinner every single night of the week. But, things have changed as we all grew older. We all sort of have our own schedules now. I'm going to college. The girls have jobs now. My mom now went back to work. And my dad still works. So the family dinners are not as frequent as they used to be. But, we have them once in a while. And now, having them less frequently makes them more special when we do get to have them now and then.
Okay. So, how do we celebrate all the holidays? So, Christmas.
Yeah, so for holidays, we typically spend with our family members. Either it be my dad's side for Thanksgiving and Christmas Day, or my mom's side, which we spend Christmas Eve and Easter. And then, everyone in the family throws some sort of party on a holiday, and we all get together and we have a good time. And which is really nice because, throughout the year, everyone's busy and they have their own things to do. We don't all get to see each other very much, so holidays are a great time for us to all to get together and, catch up and
See what's going on,
yeah.
Okay. And so you have a girlfriend now, recently. How many months have you been together now?
Probably about 8 months now.
Yeah. Okay, so how did you two meet? How is it nowadays?
Okay,
how do people meet now?
Yeah, dating these days is interesting. There's many different options when it comes to, finding someone that you're interested in and want to go out with and date or whatever. For myself, I'm an engineer at Rowan, and we don't have a lot of girls in our class. So, compared to, say, some other major, like a business major that has a good mix of guys and girls, that's sort of one of the options that was limited to me. So needless to say, I still had options of meeting women, at school or whatever, or at some parties. But, nowadays we have technology, and you have, online dating apps and whatever. And this app called Tinder, which I'm sure many people know of. Not something I ever took very seriously. It was more just, for, I don't know, boredom and just, passing some time once in a while. And one day I came across this girl, and we took interest to each other, and it just happened to be that way, and now I'm dating her, and things are going really well. And it's one of the methods that I never would have thought that I would have met my girlfriend on. But it ended up just happening that way, and I'm really glad it did. So these days, it's nice that we have a lot of different options to choose from as far as dating is concerned, and meeting people,
Yeah.
meeting new friends. And
I think it's how almost everyone does, like Instagram.
no,
Yeah,
that's not true.
Instagram
That's
is-
not true.
I mean,
That's not
Instagram
true.
is true.
I've
It's
never,
awesome.
before my current girlfriend, I've never done any of that. So it just happened
Some people.
to be this time.
Mostly people get together through technology now, though. Okay, and so technology. You were born into like the age where it's all about technology now.
Yep.
So, like when you were younger, like what kind of technology did you have? Like what was the first thing you ever had?
First piece of technology that I ever
it a
had was a
iPod?
no.
Shuffle?
No, it was a PlayStation 2. I remember my dad brought it home for me one night. Or no. It was a Sega, an old Sega,
Oh,
which
what
my
is
dad.
that?
It's a video game
A
system.
Game
It's
Boy?
no. It was called a Sega Genesis. It's a real old video game system, and that was probably my first piece of technology that I ever owned.
So like what can we like say about it now? Like we use it in our everyday lives.
You just mean what kind of impact that technology has had on
Yeah.
our lives? I mean, technology is everything in this modern day world. We use it. We use it for literally everything. We use it for communicating with people. We use it to get around, to be able to know where we're going. Everything.
Google Maps.
Huh?
Google Maps.
Yeah, Google
Helps
Maps. Everything that we do.
Evolved
As far
around
as-
technology.
I mean, in school now, back in elementary school, they used to work off of a projector. You don't ever see a projector anymore.
Yeah, no.
Everything is all papers and homeworks are submitted online. You learn from PowerPoints online and textbooks online. I don't even have any hard copy textbooks anymore. So, technology, I carry a laptop around with me everywhere I go. So, technology is a huge part of
Makes it
the way of life
easier.
nowadays. It's made things easier. I mean, it's also complicated things too, in a way. I mean,
Sometimes things don't always work out with your computer.
Say
Say
not
maybe
even.
the day before it's due, something
No,
happens.
I mean, I was thinking. No, as far as that's concerned, it's made it easier. I mean, more of a deeper meaning as far as like technology has begun to complicate things in life, as far as like just the way that people interact with each other nowadays
Yeah.
compared to.
People are always on their phones and not
Yep.
actually talking to other people.
Yeah. So
That's socialization.
things are the world has changed because of technology, and
People have to.
I came around right before it really it really made the biggest impact. So like I got to see a little bit of the world before
It was really
before technology really took off and consuming our everyday lives, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have all all the distractions.
Now
we didn't have
people
them back then. There was no Instagram or
like
Twitter.
when you were younger, we would actually go outside and play. Now you don't even see kids outside playing.
Nah, that's right.
They're
Yep.
always on their little babies are on their iPads watching little TV shows on there.
Yep.
They're like automatically take the phone from their parents.
Yeah, that's something that I definitely don't want my kids to do when I'm older. Like I'm gonna make that a point to not have
Me too.
my kid touch a phone, because once these kids touch phones now, that's it.
Yeah.
Like they get hooked. I mean, it's that easy. It really is. I mean,
It's like an addiction.
yeah.
Like we're all addicted to our phones. I can admit I'm kind of addicted.
I mean, everyone is addicted to it in such a way. We rely on it so heavily. And it isn't always a problem. It's a problem if you let it become a problem.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just have to.
Get away
Sometimes
from
it's
it.
nice to escape from everything, which is I like activities like hiking and stuff like that, where you
Yeah.
get to put all your technology away and you get to just get away from it, just get away from the world and be able to experience like a pure.
Environment.
It's just a very raw experience without any sort of complications or it's untouched scenery,
Yeah.
which is it's something different. Those kinds of things humble you a little bit and they teach you things too. You have to experience
Stuff
it
that
for yourself.
technology cannot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Well, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
I have gathered and learned a lot of information through interviewing my Grammy, my mom, and my brother. More so with my Grammy, I learned through like the generation, like because each generation it's something different. Back then, like there was no social media, so they talked to each other in person. They wrote letters to each other. And like nowadays, like everything's social media, everything's technology. It's like second nature to us. We automatically know how to use everything. We use it in our daily lives. I learned quite a lot about my grandparents. Um, uh, Two of them came from Italy, which I did not know. And I just kind of realized that everything's different, than now. People are working more than ever now. Back then, there was a lot of stay-at-home moms. And so, like, for example, like my mother, she had dinner every day with her family. They had Sunday dinners. And now it's so, like, everyone's always doing something. My mom's going back to work. My dad works 24-hour shifts. We all don't have family dinners together. So times have definitely changed. And I realized all of that from gathering all this information even more now.